Frank Smith. Frank Smith, the Chief Executive Officer of Matchroom Sport. Welcome.
How are you?
All right, how's it going over there?
Good, good. I keep saying it's sunny, so every day when it's sunny, wherever you are in the world, is a good day.
And there's me sitting in a coat in my study. But back to
Exactly.
you. Talk to us about this card, a card that's sort of like not gone under the radar, but we haven't really seen that much of it because obviously we've been overloaded with our fantastic British Knights of boxing. So fill us in. How's it going? How's the face-offs going, the media, and how the fighters all set for this weekend?
Yeah, really good. Like you say, it's such a busy period in boxing with so many big fights happening, not just in the UK, but all around the world as well. And it's great. It's great for the sport. Big night Saturday here at the Fontainebleau, just open, lovely place. If you're coming to Vegas, try out the Fontainebleau. Little sponsored ad there. I didn't get paid for that, so I did that for free.
I'm sure you'll be compensated.
Yeah. Richardson Hitchens, he's in a tough fight against Lemos on Saturday. IBF final eliminator, and respect to Richardson as well because he took the route which leads to Subriel Matias. No one wants to fight. He's obviously got the Liam Parrow fight in June, which is going to be a great fight between those two. But Richardson, I think he's in for a tough test on Saturday. Lemos is a big puncher, and we saw him in there a few years ago against Selby, I think, at the weight below in a final eliminator as well. He's going to bring out a side of Hitchens that we need to see. Richardson's a tremendous boxer, but we want to see entertainment as well. And I think this fight will bring the fire out of him, which is exciting to see. Diego Pacheco, we believe is going to rule the super middleweight division for a long, long time. Just 23 years old. He's back out again. He coming off the back of a brilliant win in LA back in November. Great performance for him. And, he wants to step in against any of the top guys at 168. Our job is to do it in the right way, build him up in the right way and get him ready for those fights. And I think Saturday night's another fight that is going to give him that experience to really let him off the leash towards the end of this year. So Diego Pacheco, excited for his fight. Skye Nicholson obviously challenges for a world title. She's built a great profile for herself. Hopefully she can get the win on Saturday. And then we'd love to take her back to Australia. There's huge investment in the sport of boxing in Australia. So that's the focus there. Mark Castro challenges for his first title as a professional. He's a brilliant fighter, a standout amateur, and he's got a long road ahead of him and a long career, a great path he's on. Galal Yafai as well, Olympic gold medalist. He's spent a lot, he's had a few fights now in the US. He's stepping up, and I think this is that step-up fight before going in there against one of the big names. He's moved very quickly, straight into 10 and 12-round fights because we believe in his ability. And I think the end of this year, you'll see him challenging for a world title, I hope, or early part of next.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned about Galal because I think his first fight was a silver WBC and he was straight in with a 10-rounder, wasn't he, to start? And that was as soon as he turned pro. Talk about the strategy around building that fighter from Olympic, medalist to going into those 10-rounders to then, pushing him forward for a world title. What's the strategy around Galal?
I mean, look, Galal has been in the amateurs. He's done amazing things in the amateurs. So when he came through, it was very much, let's not waste time with 6, 8-round fights. Let's get straight in there. Sometimes, though, at the same time, it's harder to build, because of the level of fights he's going into, it's harder to build the personality and the story around it because he's so focused on the boxing side. Sometimes it's easier. When you're going in against these guys of a lower level, you can focus more time and attention on the profile element of it. I think for Galal, it's about going into proper fights and showing the level he's at because he's at another level, and he's going to keep building. Again, we've got to do it at the right pace so that when he gets in there against the best guys, he's had that experience. But, he's not far off now from challenging for those big fights.
Skye Nicholson as well, another fighter that, that's accelerating at a nice pace, a fighter that's not afraid to call out the big names. We know that she called out Amanda Serrano. Amanda Serrano's obviously, I think she's relinquished that belt due to her wanting to do the 3-minute rounds, etc. What is the plan around Skye Nicholson? I know you've mentioned taking her back to Australia, her home country, to develop her more there. But what else are you doing for Skye?
Sorry, I think someone's won about 100K in the background. If you heard those gongs going off in the background,
No,
I think
it
that's
must be nice.
there were some loud gongs at the same time you're asking that question. But
Sun and money.
yeah, but Skye's a tremendous fighter, and she would challenge anyone. Like when it was the Amanda Serrano fight was there, obviously, as you say, there was a 10, 12-minute round, 10, 12 rounds, 3 minutes, 2 minutes. But she'd challenge anyone. And I think, she is focused on winning a world title. Saturday night's her opportunity to do that. And then from there, go on and look to unify in big fights. And again, as I say, Australia is a market. We believe there's huge opportunity. There's some great stars coming out of Australia, some brilliant Australian boxing going on at the minute. And, we definitely see the opportunity to keep building something and create something big for her out there.
What's happening, Frank? We've obviously remember the signing with Japan and the Super Series, and was looking forward to that. I'm going to admit it's because their clocks are suitable for us to watch the boxing. But what's happening with that? It was like all ready, set to go, and then all of a sudden, nothing.
Yeah, we had some logistical issues with together with our local partners that we're working through, and over the next couple of days, hoping to get everything set for a new date for that. Probably in June or July time, but we're just working through it now. Back and forth conversations. Look, not ideal, but one of those things you have to go through, and hopefully some news very soon, as I say.
Yeah. Just quickly touching on Conor Benn. I've listened to the conversation that Eddie's had both on Drive Time with TalkSport, so credit to them, and obviously his earlier conversation he had with Kugan Cassius. I'm aware of obviously the legal obligations, so you're bound by confidentiality while this works itself out. But what I would like to ask is obviously, his promoter and has got some sort of relationship. You've been working with him for a while. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, they say, Frank. But if you was to go back in time, which I know you can't, or say, for example, this comes up with a fighter again, how differently would you let your fighter deal with it? Because I think, and this is me coming from a fan's point of view once again, maybe if it was dealt with differently, we may have had maybe not a better outcome to start off with for the fighter, but it may have been coming towards that. Do you see where I'm going with this without trying to put words into your mouth?
No, look, 100%. I think there's a lot that can be learned. I'm not going to sit here and say we did everything right. We did things that at the time, amongst the whole host of things that were ongoing, you're taking on new information every second, every hour, every day. And could we learn from it? 1,000,000%. And that's what life's all about. We're not going to sit here and say we made every decision the right way. We did everything the right way. Conor's done everything the right way, in terms of whether that's from a PR perspective. So, yes, 1,000,000% can learn from it. And that, like I say, we've been through a lot in the sport now across a whole host of things, from fights being cancelled, doping it, and you learn. And I think we're in a great place now to have a broad understanding and be able to really deal with anything. Because this sport throws up all obstacles every second of every day. And we've been through most of them now. So we have a view and a way to approach things. But yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say we made every decision right. No, we didn't, but, and people will question everything you did. And there, people will have an opinion on everything. But there was a lot of things. It's difficult as well with a lot of the information not actually freely available, not out there because of the confidentiality. People don't understand certain things that have gone on, and that's understandable. But it's just like anything in life. Just like I may have an opinion on something that I have no real understanding of, you may have an opinion on something that you don't know all of it. It's the same thing, and that's people have their right to have their opinion. And for sure, learn a lot and can change a lot moving forward.
Yeah, definitely one of the things that I think from our perspective, sitting on the outside, is that we don't know all the facts, but we do like the idea of transparency. But there isn't transparency with things like these because, like you said, certain information will be withheld and then it leaves the public. We kind of like run with an idea and say, for example, Conor, instead of like closing the doors and shutting everything off and dealing with everything behind closed doors, he took a more public approach, which has then led to more public scrutiny. So it's just that learning going forward to maybe like, say, for example, you say sometimes a fighter needs saving from themselves sometimes.
Yeah, and look, it's very easy for people to have opinions on the way Conor should handle things because they're not going through that situation. A lot of people go through life never going through a situation that puts so much pressure and stress on them. Conor's been through in his life. So, won't understand that situation, won't understand how he's necessarily dealt with it. And I'm sure he's learned a lot from it. I'm sure he'll change as a person from off the back of this. It's easy to look from the outside and make a decision on the way people have handled things. Whether that's something I've said, whether that's something Eddie said, whether that's the way Conor's dealt with it. I'm sure there are, like I say again, there are things that we have said or done where people have gone, I don't agree with that, or I don't think that's right, where there may be more facts behind it. There may be more information behind it. At the same time, you may turn around and go, I made a comment that I got a load of stick for. Sit back and go, yeah, maybe I said the comment in the wrong manner. But that's life. We live and learn, and hopefully we move on. It feels like this has gone on for a long time, but hopefully we're not far from getting to the other side.
Well, I look forward to obviously seeing some sort of closure with that, just in fact to see what Conor Benn's going to do with his career. But I've mentioned there, fighters sometimes need saving from themselves. Now, we've obviously had the issue with, and this was my ignorance, Adam Azim, Team Adam Azim, including the promotional company, management company, etc., have decided to relinquish the belt. Adam has been quite vocal on social media. Eddie's quite often said maybe he needs a promoter to step in, to pull back the fighter.
Shalom's taken over his social media. I think he's got the admin account to his Twitter now.
Is it okay? Well, I'll leave that up to them to argue about. I mistakenly thought that because he's fighting Harlem Eubank, I know Harlem Eubank initially said, I'm done at 140. I'm going up to 147. So I had presumed that this fight was at 147, which initially made more sense. Okay, he's going up in weight. That's fine. But it's not. It's still at the 140 mark. Now, I know there's been some suggestion around, obviously, the age of Dalton Smith, the experience of Dalton Smith in comparison to Harlem Eubank. And I can see arguments for Boxer, as in regards to, we want to take our time with him, we want to build him properly. But then I see some arguments against Boxer because they put him into a position where he became a belt holder, then not thinking beyond that to say maybe he's going to have to defend this, or maybe he's going to have to defend this against somebody, a fighter on another platform. So when it comes to building your fighters, what is your strategy for them? And I can say that and probably use Cameron Vaughn as an example. You're building him, you guys are excited about him. So are you going to then push him into a position where you're going to back off and say, well, maybe he's not ready for that? What is the Matchroom strategy around building their fighters?
I think we're open and honest around if someone's not ready for something, then, every situation is different. Every scenario is different. There was talk about Jordan Thompson as an example.
Yeah, that was cutting.
Yeah, I mean, look, Jordan Thompson, I'm very close with Jordan Thompson. I've known him since I was a baby.
I've seen the pictures.
Jordan Thompson, as an example, he was having a tough time making cruiserweight. I think whether it was that fight or another fight, it would have been his last fight at cruiserweight. This was an opportunity for Jordan Thompson, a big puncher, to go in there and change his life, right? And the reality is, he could have gone in a lesser fight and not won, right, for a lot less money, and not been in the position that Chapter is a tremendous fight. We know that. We've seen that. We've seen what he's done in his career. But Jordan Thompson, it was an opportunity to go and win a world title. Was it maybe a little bit soon? Yes, but with the facts behind it of, right, this is probably his last fight at cruiserweight, could go and change his life here. There's an opportunity, win a world title. We got to take this fight. So every scenario is different. I don't necessarily disagree with Adam Azim not fighting Dalton Smith. Dalton Smith beats Adam Azim every day of the week. He's on another level to him. That's the reality of it. But it's the way it's handled. It's embarrassing for Adam Azim. If you come out on day one and go, he's not ready for him, right? And you take the flak for that, right? You go, he's just not ready for him. Go, fair enough. You can't really argue with that. But there's so many different arguments. He's not old enough. He's too old. This guy's too old. It's like, Which one is it? Just pick one and stick with it. Stop changing the energy about it. Look, I think Harlem Eubank can beat Adam Azim. And Adam Azim will be getting a third of the money he would have got to fight Dalton Smith. Is that a good commercial and career decision? Probably not. But that's for them to decide. And we represent Dalton Smith. Our job is to do the best job for Dalton Smith. I would love to have done the Adam Azim fight because I think it's an easy fight for Dalton Smith, and he gets, it's commercially a big fight as well. But Adam Azim, I listened earlier to Ben talking about, we would have been given Dalton the opportunity. Adam Azim's just like, he's fought on the undercard in his last fight. He's not like, you create this perception that he's some superstar. It's just in your own mind that he's a star. Not saying he can't be a star. He definitely he's 21 years old. Like, he can build into a star. I'm not, like, don't get me wrong. I'm sure he's a lovely kid. Don't know him. But it's not doing a favour to Dalton Smith. Dalton Smith's on his own path, his own trajectory to go and win a world title. We saw the night we had in Sheffield a few weeks ago, a tremendous atmosphere, building something special there. Don't worry about Dalton Smith. But, it's hard because people say you go on about this like as in us. We get asked a question, we give our honest opinion. And all of these things that Ben and Boxer have done, they're not for the best interest of the fighters. Let's just be completely straight up. The Fraser Clarke decision, originally, wasn't for the best interest of Fraser Clarke. It was for the best interest of Ben Shalom, Boxer and Sky Sports. They didn't want him to risk fighting on another platform. Now, you can say, look at those extra fights he had. They didn't make any difference to the fight he had on Saturday night in terms of being ready for that fight. Fraser Clarke has been in with the best fighters in the world for many years. Not professionally, granted, in a professional ring, amateur and in sparring. Years and years and years of being in there with the best fighters in the world. Doesn't make any difference. Just come out and say, we made decisions for the good of our business. No one can argue with it. You can argue, you can say that's not necessarily right, but if you choose to sign with them, good luck. Like, if that's the business you're with, fair play. That's the decision you make, fair play. But don't come out as this righteous, person going, we do it for the fight. It's nothing to do with the fights. In terms of their decision.
Well, when you look at doing it for like the fighters, like I think Eddie mentioned earlier, when he spoke with IFL, you look at it and there's a track record which I think is coming up to 5. I mean, we can talk about Richard Riakporhe, JR Pattaya. We can talk about the other efforts, but my interest now is moving forward is what is happening with Chev Clarke and Isaac Chamberlain. Yet another fight. Have you had any correspondence from Boxer with what's happening with that? I do believe the expiration date for the purse bids to come to a close is the 10th, which is fast approaching. It's next week. Can you give us any update on what is happening with that at all?
No, I don't. I think, next Wednesday's the purse bid. I don't think they're going to do that fight. I think they're obviously seem to be set on making this Fidel Riley fight. Again, it's not. There may be other fights that make more sense. I get it. But it's just handle it in the right manner. And don't then position it as us. Matchroom don't want to work, but they're making... It's like this victim mentality with it all. Oh, I'm the poor victim over here. It's not. It's not at all. We're willing to work with anyone. We've shown that time and time again. Let's see what happens with the Chev bid. Regardless, Chev becomes British champion late, in the next few months. Whether it's against Isaac Chamberlain or someone else, he'll become a British champion. Our focus is Chev Clarke. And let's see. Hopefully we go to purse bids and the fighters get paid the most amount of money, and well done to them.
Your thoughts then on Fraser and Fabio Wardley? A good fight for the British public. I definitely enjoyed it. I did see the fact that I thought not a lot of people put their faith in Fraser. I was quite vocal about that. I saw him as being B-sided. But it was good to see him put that effort in. But you as obviously the businessman in this sport, because I know you're not as much as a fan as Eddie, but what did you see when you watched that fight and in relation to it possibly becoming a rematch on pay-per-view?
Look, brilliant fight. The two of them went for it. And I'm so happy because I get on with both. Like Fraser worked with us on the security side 10 years ago or something when I first, 12 years ago, whatever it was. So get on very well with Fraser and love Fabio as well. I'm just happy for the two of them that they got an opportunity. And look, great fights, great nights are good for the sport of boxing. Whether it's Matchroom promoting Boxer, whether it's Golden Boy Top Rank, Al Heyman, Frank Warren, whoever it is, good nights of boxing are good for the sport. People want to see entertainment. For too long, we've had fights that don't deliver. That's the reality. For too many years recently, and we're all guilty of that. Like, don't get me wrong, we're all, I'm not blaming anyone, but it's all about entertainment. And the better the fights, the more entertaining, the more people tune in. The more people who tune into any fight is then going to bring an audience to boxing. It's good for the sport. So I'm happy for both of them. And yeah, I'm glad, like Fraser showed. Look, as I said before, Fraser's been in there against the best fighters in the world. And they both showed so much heart in there because they were both knackered. Like, you could tell that they left everything in that ring. So I'm just happy for the two of them. And yeah, I think it's a massive fight. I think it can be. I think now there's probably, like, Fabio's going to be out for a while, I'd guess, with that cut. It was quite a gruesome cut. He's not going to spar for a while. I think Fraser maybe has another fight. Fabio has another fight. That's a rematch for down the road for sure.
Do you think it's pay-per-view? Because I think I'm looking on X, there's a couple of people that are not happy with the fact that it's a pay-per-view fight. And I think that's going on from Ben Shalom's conversation that he's had on TalkSport this afternoon or this morning.
No, I think the reality is Ben Shalom's under a lot of pressure to deliver pay-per-views because they just haven't done it. And I think they're doing CBS React or Harlem against Azim and Tasha Jonas against Michaela Meyer as a pay-per-view on June 15th. I think that's a pay-per-view show, I believe I've heard. Like they're under pressure to deliver pay-per-view fights. It's what generates, like, whether people agree or disagree, fights have to generate money, shows have to generate money, and there has to be a way for broadcasters to do things. I don't necessarily think it's a pay-per-view fight next, in all honesty. But I think it could be if they come through. But yeah, look, I'm sure they're going to make the decisions, both fighters, around what's best for their careers. And there's going to be a lot of opportunity for both of those fighters. And look, there's a great time for the heavyweight division. We've seen in Saudi especially massive fights being made. And I think there's big opportunities for both of them there as well. So let's see.
And finally, I just need you to just explain how the IBF works. Once again, this is a fallout from the conversation that Eddie's had with Kugan Cassius on IFL. He's saying potentially Anthony Joshua's next fight could be for a world championship belt, or he could be going straight into undisputed. The belt that seems to be not yet there, but could possibly be there, is the IBF. Obviously, May 18th is a core date because we've got the undisputed championship bout between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. How immediate then should, whoever come through that, how immediate does that belt go out into the ethos for somebody else to fight it? Because they're almost talking like it's there already. So I just need to get that straight in my head. How urgent does that belt become available? How immediate? Sorry, not urgent.
I mean, if there's a preset rematch, which I think there is in that undisputed fight, it would mean that the IBF would likely then order the fight between the winner and then the number one, who then the rematch would overtake that, so they'd have to relinquish the belt. So, I think there'll be lots going on in the background. But look, we're all excited for the undisputed fight. It's been a long time coming. Great fight between the two of them, and then let's see from there. The heavyweight landscape changes daily, and there's a lot of exciting fights to look forward to.
Who's your money on, Frank?
What, in the undisputed fight? Draw. No, I hope Tyson Fury wins because obviously Britt, and I think he's the biggest fight out there is to make the Anthony Joshua fight. But Usyk's a tremendous fighter. Tremendous fighter. I know there's a lot of talk about size and things, but what he's done in the sport, from cruiserweight, heavyweight, and amateur as well, is unheard of. So, but it's a great fight, and that's why people are interested, because the truth is you don't know. And I also think the reality of heavyweight boxing, as with every division, but mostly heavyweights, because of that knockout power, the best man, whoever goes in there on the night, they can all beat each other. Those top 5 guys can all beat each other if they turn up. And that's why we love it. And that's why we keep tuning in.
We love it. Listen, thank you so much for your time, Frank. Enjoy your lovely hotel, nice weather, gambling and making money while we're sat in the rainy, cold UK. And I look forward to seeing you next week for when we've got Gil versus Barrett back in Manchester. Can't wait for that.
See you there. I can't wait for it, apart from the potential rain.
listen, the rain will be waiting for you.
People say I'm toxic, and honestly, I don't care.